Hello, my darlings. We are going to start looking at graphs of trig functions. How exciting is that? So to do this, the unit circle is extremely important because that's what we're going to be using to draw our graphs. And we're going to start with the basic sine and cosine functions. And by basic, I just mean they don't do transformations. They don't translate left or right. They don't translate up or down. The only thing they might do is change amplitude or period, and that's it. Then we'll add on the other types of stuff later on. All right, so here's our two basic graphs, the sine curve and the cosine curve. And basically what we're doing is the x-axis is the angle. The y-axis is the value you get from the point. So if you were to look at the unit circle, if we had an angle of 0, well, the sine of 0 is 0. The sine of pi over 2 is 1. The sine of pi is 0. The sine of 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. The sine of 2 pi is 0. So using the unit circle, we get this graph. Amplitude is basically the height of these curves. So in this case, the basic sine graph has an amplitude of 1. Period is how often does it repeat? So notice it goes up, down, up. And then it starts over. Up, down, up. And then it would start over. So the distance from here to here is 2 pi. That's called your period. After 2 pi, it's going to start repeating the same pattern. All right, so cosine, well, the cosine of 0 is 1. The cosine of pi over 2 is 0. The cosine of pi is negative 1. The cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. The cosine of 2 pi is 1. So this is just working our way around the unit circle. And notice they have arrows because they do keep going on forever. The height here of the mountain or the depth of the valley is 1. So again, our amplitude is 1. Here I go from 0, and when I hit 2 pi, I start repeating the same pattern. So again, our period is 2 pi. All right, so we're going to graph things that have a different amplitude and a different period. That's what the A and the B control for the sine and the cosine. So the amplitude is the absolute value of A. Absolute value. Negative does not affect the amplitude. The amplitude is a distance. It's always a positive number. And it's the distance from the maximum or the minimum to the midline, which is right through the middle of the graph, which for this set of notes, the midline is the x-axis. It goes right through the middle of the graph, and it has a height of 1 above and a depth of 1 below. If the A is negative, that does not affect the amplitude, but it does reflect the graph across the midline, just like all the other graphs we've been doing, absolute value graphs and parabolas and all those other ones. The negative out front just reflects it. The period is controlled by the B in front of the X, so it's based off of our original period of 2 pi, so our period is going to be 2 pi over B. And on page 2, we'll look at some examples with that.